You learn as you do it, but at the same time, if I didn't invest in like coach or a community, I don't know, maybe you would never solve that problem, or maybe you take too long to solve that problem.
It's my pleasure to welcome my friend Kevin Leong to the show. Kevin, thanks for joining us today. First off, how did you discover this business?
I think I started rental arbitrage the beginning of 2020.
So it's been about a year now. How many units do you have?
Yeah, so I just closed 30, I think, beginning of February. So now I'm at 81 as of today. So
81 arbitrage units. So you started a year ago. Congratulations. That's amazing how fast you've scaled. What ultimately helped you take that step to launch the business? Did you have any other help?
what really helped me a lot was I personally invested in a mentor or teacher. And then so I felt like investing in someone that, has a lot of experience or went through things, I could skip all those mistakes. And then I didn't have to go through any of those like problems that maybe a lot of people would have if they just started by themselves.
Well, welcome back to STR Like the Best. I'm your host, Michael Chang. It's my pleasure to welcome my friend Kevin Leong to the show. Kevin, thanks for joining us today.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
I'm really excited to have you on the show. We met at the IMN conference in Miami in January. So I've been looking forward to doing this episode with you. You've grown your short-term rental business really, really quickly. And I would love to tell the story. And I know this is your first podcast. So,
Yeah.
I think the audience is going to really benefit from your kind of unvarnished experience. So thanks again for joining.
Of course. Yeah. Hopefully I can, talk about my experience and like I said, thank you for having me on my podcast. First time for everything.
Yeah. No, that'll be fun. And we're having a good time. Before we start, why don't you just introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah. So my name's Kevin Leong. I'm 27, but turning 28 in July. I think I started rental arbitrage. I think my first year was like mid-March, if I remember correctly. I think I studied it, or I knew about it, the business before, but yeah, I started it, I think the beginning of 2020, and my first unit was mid-March.
Got it. So it's been about a year now. How many units do you have?
Yeah, so I just closed on 30, I think, beginning of February. So now I'm at 81 as of today. So yeah, it's been like a grind and a lot of work.
Beautiful. Okay, so 81 arbitrage units as of today, April 2nd. So you started a year ago. Congratulations. That's amazing how fast you scaled. Do you own any properties for Airbnb or just rental arbitrage?
Yeah, so currently I don't own any property. The area is all arbitrage. I definitely do want to own in the near future. I just don't know when yet because obviously arbitrage has the better, ROI, cash flow, things like that. So I think later on I will have to put that into consideration, like when to buy or where to buy. But I know like there are a lot of definitely like tax benefits of owning. So I definitely want to go that route, but just not sure when.
Yeah, no, that's something I'm a big proponent of, like doing rental arbitrage. And for folks that maybe are new to the short-term rental space, rental arbitrage means when you invest in Airbnbs, but you lease the properties instead of buying them, and then you have the landlord's permission to re-rent it short-term on Airbnb and other short-term rental platforms. So you earn the difference or the arbitrage between the long-term rent and the short-term revenue that you can capture. So that's the business model that we definitely utilize. We started with, and then we started there, and then we built the business, and we started buying. But we'll definitely talk about that as well. Before I get started, so 81 units in 14 months. So really awesome acceleration. Any kind of interesting guest story that you'd like to share with us? You have 81 units, so you must have something funny or interesting to share.
I The only memorable one was actually I think my first booking. I think like, and the thing is, I actually like, I actually started with a screening software and everything, but late my first booking, I think like the guests, I don't know what they were doing. It's like a group of people. I think they like smoked in the unit, and then at the time, obviously when I started, I had all my like linen and towels in the unit, not locked up, and things like that. So when cleaners went to clean after that reservation was over, like all the towels are on the floor, they're all like black.
Oh no!
Like I think I don't know what they're doing. Like the spoon in the fridge was like kind of like dented. Like it's like I don't know if they're like doing drugs or something. But I was like, wow, I was living my first unit, and then like all my linen and towels are like all black, and it's kind of like not like super trash, but it just like I was like, wow. I just like surprised me because like this is my first one, and I like took every precaution I could do, like like I said, screening software, reminded all the house rules, very strict guideline, things like that, and then still happened, and I was like, man, yeah.
So, like, how'd you, that was your first one, and obviously it was not the perfect experience. Like, did it kind of scare you away from the business?
um, Not exactly. I think it just opened my eyes. There will be guests like this, no matter how strict you are, how good you screen, things like that. Even before I started arbitrage, I've been following a lot of people just looking, when they post on social media. So I know like sometimes they're good guests, sometimes they're super bad guests. No matter, you just can't. You could do as much as you can, but at the end of the day, like some people, just don't listen, and it just happens.
Yeah, no, it's hard. Even you can do the perfect screening, and you get the bad guess. So, like, I think you said you were doing research before. So, I always love to kind of get people's origin stories. Like, how did you? So, I guess first off, how did you discover this business? Right, Airbnb is kind of in general. Like, walk us through like your research process.
I think I only like actively started following the business model, I believe, around the end of 2022. I've definitely heard about the model, like even like before, but I just, I think I was like a lot younger. I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know, yeah, how to start. Not sure if any people that were doing it that well. And also in my head at the time, I was like, I don't have money, because I think like also for any business, you need money to start. Obviously, you could always start with as much as you want or as low as you want, but obviously, if you have more capital or more, I guess, resources, you could definitely, scale the business or things like that. But yeah, at the time when I was younger, I definitely, had no money, so I didn't really want to go into the Airbnb space or even tried it. I was just scared of losing it all.
Yeah, totally. No, I mean, there's definitely that fear in the beginning. So what eventually got you over that fear?
I think so. Before Airbnb arbitrage, I was actually doing I was just like messing around like e-commerce, Amazon FBA, Shopify. Like I was just trying anything or even like reselling. I was like, making, I would say, decent money. I just wasn't what I wanted, or kind of like I was just doing things, but I had no real direction of what to do. I was just kind of winging it and just doing it as I go.
So let's talk about the e-com. I think a lot of people start in e-com and then go into Airbnb. And just like, yeah, just very briefly, like what were you doing in e-com and what about it was like, like this isn't what I want to do.
Yeah. So I think majority of the thing I was doing was kind of like arbitrage, like basically like scanning the codes and then see how much they was like sell on Amazon, things like that. Like obviously you could make money, I guess, doing a lot of bulk and stuff, but I just didn't like always spend my time finding products, going there, shipping, things like that. And I felt like there was like has to be like something better. Like I definitely didn't mind at the time because obviously it's my only source of income, but I wanted something more, I guess, like automated to get my time back. And then, yeah,
So you were just like always looking for the next hit, right? With e-com. I think a lot of people say that, like you have to keep kind of looking for the next product because it's so competitive and it's hard, right? Like you have to find the next hit. In Airbnb, it's nice where you kind of do the work once. Okay, like this works. You get it, and you're like, okay, this works, and now let me scale there. And it's kind of harder to do with e-com. Not impossible, but just more difficult because you have to kind of like the product is always different versus Airbnb. You find like the one product that works. So maybe along that, like maybe just walk us through your growth curve. Like you have 81 closed now. Like how many did you get with you started with one, right? Like by the end of the first 3 months, like how many did you have?
so my first deal, I think, was actually 5 units, in one building. And the funny thing is, I think I had that lead for a long time, but I think when I was doing analysis, or maybe I was like scared too, it's because my first deal, right? I want to make sure it was like very perfect. I was gonna make money. I was maybe a little scared I wasn't gonna make money, and also they weren't offering like rent concessions, so I also had to put more upfront. So I just kept thinking and thinking, and then I think I was, man, if I'm gonna just keep thinking all the time, I'm never gonna do it. So I just kind of pulled the trigger on that one and only deal I had, and it worked out so far. But in the first 3 months, I believe, so I got 5 in mid March. I think April, I just kind of ran it through because I would just want to see how it went. I think in the market I wasn't, even though it wasn't that fast, but it wasn't also slow. Kind of, and then I think I made a little bit, and I was like, okay, it kind of works. I see the potential. And like also I just started, so I think it works. And then May kind of started hitting, and then I think the ADR and everything went a lot higher because it's close. I was in the Midwest market where summer's the peak, so it started getting
Yeah.
going up. I was like, okay. Then I started reaching out in the same market, and I found I think like a Class C unit, like a very old building, very cheap rent, but like heart of downtown, things like that. And I think they had I believe 15 Class C studios, but since I was kind of new and as the negotiation went like back and forth for so long, I ended up with 10. But and then now so far the relationship's like really good now, and added more in the building like over time.
So let's talk about that, right? Because you hit on a really good point. So I want to start, but I first want to kind of unpack a little bit. You got the first 5, and I think a lot of people kind of have analysis paralysis
Yeah,
of does this work, does it not, the number, and trying to like perfect every single number. But I think ultimately you never learn until you do it. It's all numbers on a spreadsheet until you get the operating experience. And a lot of people, I think 9 out of 10 people just never get off 0. They just like are too scared to start, and then something else comes in their life and they just kind of forget, or they get too busy, and then nothing ever happens.
yeah, for sure.
And I think it's such a waste because you spend so much of your time and energy to like try to figure something out, and then you're just like too scared to pull the trigger. And I know it's gonna feel like that's like a confidence issue. It's like if you believe in yourself that like I'll figure it out, right? Like there's enough here where I think there's something like is interesting here, and it's not gonna go perfect, but like I trust in myself that I'm gonna figure this out. I think those kind of people are the ones that like I think ultimately are the most successful. Let's talk a little bit about the numbers where you're like, okay, you're in the Midwest market, definitely slower in March because it's still cold and then it gets warmer. So like how much money were you so on those 5 units were you making like, when you decided to like scale into that class C unit, were you making like what was I guess like what financially gave you the confidence to do that? Were you just like, all right, I made $1,000 per unit. So I made 5K profit this month. Okay, now I know this works. This gives me confidence. Or because now I have more money to do this. Like what was that pivot point that because taking 10 more units is not a small thing.
Yeah. Like I said, confidence I think is something I had. I think even yeah, way before even though I was scared I was in the beginning, I think I just had to like learn how the operations went, how the business worked. And I feel like and kind of like what you said, I learned more actually by doing it day by day. And like just like you said, you could research as much as you want, watch so many YouTube videos or whatever to like try to avoid all these problems and stuff. But there's a lot of things that are very situational that, you just gotta learn out as you go. So yeah, so I think April going up to May, I think those 5 were like, like I said, it was the 8 hours going up, and I was like, okay, I know like if I'm making this much right now, or like, yeah, and it's not even the peak or the which is summer or July for me. I was like, okay, then if I get a few more right now, which is like around May, then when it hits like July or June or whichever month was the highest, I would be getting my investment back like really fast, things like that. And then I think I was talking to that Class C unit for a while, and then I just like when we got they agreed to do with me because they rather I one operator and so dealing with 10 different tenants or something like that, and they like we both put trade and it went pretty well.
That's great. That's great. And you continue to grow that business. And like I personally like class B, kind of like not the non-class A units. I actually think you make more money from that because, as long as they're in a good location, doesn't have the newest amenities, it's like a little bit older, but like for short-term rentals, like people just really care about the location. And like as long as the inside apartment's like pretty decent, decorate it well, everything works, it's generally fine. Like you don't need to overpay for like the view or like, the amenity room, the pool, like a super nice gym for long-term rentals, they will overpay for that, but like short-term rentals, I don't think is actually the best business model. I'm curious on like how you think about that. How do you think about like class A versus class B, class C type buildings?
think maybe it depends on, I would say maybe the market or maybe what kind of travelers, but I feel like there's always, a market for everyone. There are maybe people that would overpay for those amenities, right? For sure. Like they like, maybe they gym every day, they like the view. And there are people that maybe are, I would say, on a more budget stay. But as long as, like what you said, as long as like inside decorated nice, everything works, is clean, I don't think people mind as well. Because honestly, yeah, once I got those classy units, and then the summer hit, June, July, August, and stuff, I was like shocked, like how much. I was like, this classy unit makes this much, and I was like thinking, like if I had like a more modern apartment, maybe same area, I was like those modern units, like Class B, Class A, would make a lot more. Which and then I think after that summer, my first summer operate, I think that's really opened my eyes. Like, okay, I really just gotta just keep going. I saw the whole picture already.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. Like, let's talk some numbers then. Like, those Class C units, right? Like, what's the rent and what were you, on average making per month on a gross basis?
Yeah, so those Class C units, they were about 1,100 in rent for a studio. It's just all studios in that building. I believe in the summer, I think after all expenses, most of them were like netting like, I believe, like if I remember, like 1.5 each, like every month this summer. And depending on, maybe some were maybe even close to two if they were booked out way earlier. And then I was just like I said, once I saw it, I was like, what the heck? Like these, like the Class C units, like I personally don't think like I would live there. Like there's nothing wrong with it, just a bit, but there's just like, I'm just like surprised. Like it really shocked me.
Yeah. It's funny, everyone says that. I always tell people in the students that I work with, you gotta take yourself out of it. It's not where you would stay. It's
Yeah,
not where Kevin would stay. It's not where Michael would stay. It's like where this type of budget traveler is gonna stay. And they will pay actually. They want that different kind of experience. They just don't want to be in a hotel. Sometimes hotels are even more expensive. So that's great. I mean, like little studios that can net you 2K a month. And studios aren't very expensive to
yeah,
furnish too. They're like, depending on the size, like 5,000 ish, probably cheaper if you want to go a little cheaper. So you kind of get your money out in like 3 months, and then you have a fully paid off business that just like generates cash flow for you, which is pretty nice. But now, you have 81, right? You just closed a 30 unit deal. Tell us a little bit about, I don't want you to give out too many secrets. Are you in different cities now? Are you mostly still in the Midwest? Like, tell us about like kind of this, the layout of your portfolio. How many units in how many different cities?
yeah. So I'm in two different markets. So obviously my first market was when I started in Midwest. That has 19 units, and I think when I started, I kind of knew like seasonality in the industry. So I think even before like the summer ended, I kind of like, in a way, I planned out my next 2 months. Like, okay, hopefully these summer units are in the Midwest make me pretty decent money. And then I know winters may be very brutal or bad. So I kind of like already was researching another market that was the opposite, where like maybe like the winters, like maybe it was like maybe January to March, or maybe in December, something that would offset maybe any losses or things like that. And I'm glad that I did, because now I haven't lost any money since I started. So every year's been positive. So yeah, Midwest, and then another market I'm in is Arizona, and
Figured.
I've just been heavily expanding or like getting units there, because like I said, I knew like the market seasonality, and that's kind of what I did. So I guess my plan now is hopefully get a few more units in a, I'm not sure if it's going to be the same Midwest market, but hopefully like another market where the summertime, which is the next 2 months, will be a lot better, and then there will
Yeah.
be more balanced cash flow throughout the year. I didn't want to like, make a lot of money in the summer, and the winters I was like losing money or kind of stressed, because yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, like, I mean, I think that's really smart. You kind of like balance out your portfolio with two different markets that offset each other with seasonality. I mean, like, I my buddy Syed on the show Sayed Latif, one of the prior episodes, he has like 200 plus units in Chicago, just in Chicago. And his summers are phenomenal, and his winters are just absolutely brutal. He says he loses like money 5 months out of the year, but then the other 5 months he makes money. It all kind of like balances out. Not what I generally like, but like again, I think just depending on the person, the market, their risk tolerance. Like, there's a lot of ways to construct a portfolio here that can still make money. And I love it that like you've done it in a way where you're cash flow positive every single month, right? I think it helps mentally too to like always be in a growth mindset to play offense. If you're like not losing money, you're like, okay, cool. Like we maybe didn't make this much, but make it like we don't have this like huge swing where we're making a ton in a month. And it just like allows you to just be very balanced throughout the whole year and how you grow your portfolio.
For sure.
Getting off the sideline, like talk to us about that a little bit. You were doing a lot of research on YouTube. I think you mentioned YouTube. Like what ultimately helped you, take that step to launch the business? Did you have any other help?
Yeah. So what really helped me a lot was for me, I'm not saying maybe everyone should, but I personally invested in a mentor or teacher because I feel like how I said earlier, you learn as you do it, but at the same time, I didn't want to go through too many hurdles and mistakes at the same time and then so I felt like investing in someone that has a lot of experience or went through things, I could skip all those mistakes. And then that way, like I said, then I could scale the business more, which obviously it did because I didn't have to go through any of those problems that maybe a lot of people would have if they just started by themselves.
No, look, I mean, I think that's really important. Like I think a lot of people are really smart; they can figure it out. But time, right? What you're doing is like when you invest in a mentor, a coaching program, like anything, right? Even just like going to college, right? Like you can probably learn all those things, right? But it's just try to do it like a lot faster. And I think that's where like we invest in coaching as well for ourselves. It just makes everything go a lot faster. Like you don't make the easy mistakes that everyone makes because someone tells you, hey, like there's these pitfalls here, like avoid them, right? And you have someone, but I think even more importantly, like you have someone that you can talk to that you trust. That like, hey, I'm going through this problem, and they might not have like an exact answer for you, but it could be like, hey, it's a problem, but it's probably not a big deal, like,
Mhm.
you'll get through it or like, "Hey, this is a bigger problem, you need to focus time on it, I would think about it this way." It just gives you a little more confidence where you have, like, a trusted resource that you can, like, ask questions to and come to decisions a little quicker and make, like, a higher probability decisions that, like, will go in your favor. Because when you're doing it alone, it's very lonely, and you have someone no one to talk to, then I think you just go a lot slower. Maybe just talk a little about that, like, how has having a community around you helped you, scale so quickly? I mean, 81 units is a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Talking to someone who has experience, also talking to other like-minded people in the industry that either have the same goals or, they're already, a few years in the industry. Just like I said, talking to people that share their experience definitely helps avoid all those other mistakes that you would naturally probably do alone. And yeah, like you said, it is very. If I think if I didn't invest in a coach or things or a community, definitely would have been lonely because, like I said, no one to talk to, no one could ever understand your problems because they're not in the industry. They don't know how to deal with it. But if you're with other people that's doing it, like they'll be like, "Hey, this is what I did," and then you could fix that situation or problem really fast. Whereas like if you didn't have that, then it's like I don't know, maybe you would never solve that problem, or maybe you take too long to solve that problem. And
Exactly. You
yeah,
take too long. Yeah, like you're on YouTube or Instagram or,
yeah,
Facebook groups and trying to like spend a week to figure out a problem, which you might get to the solution, or it's like literally 5 minutes and like, you post in Discord or you send a WhatsApp message and like, hey, I'm dealing with this. Like anyone else deal with a similar situation?
mhm,
Someone it just like orients you to like, okay, this is like kind of the right direction. And if you're smart and you kind of have confidence in yourself, then you're like, okay, cool, all right, okay, I know that I have like now like these like few options I'm going to drive and figure out how to do, and you can you can get it done in like within a day versus like a week or 10 days,
yeah,
and it's competitive, right? So like time is definitely your ability to move quickly is really important. Speed really kills in this industry, both when you have it and when you don't have it. Give us an example actually of like one problem that you had that like you thought would take you a lot longer to solve, but like with the community, you got there a lot quicker. How about a 30 unit deal? Like when you're underwriting that deal, did you have any like, were you nervous about it all? Or you just kind of knew, all right, this is going to work. Like you were just super confident in your numbers.
Yeah, so the 30 unit deal, I was actually very confident because the negotiations and the lease or the rent concession that I was able to get or negotiate with them. Also, at the same time, the reason why I was very confident because I was going into the one is a rent concession. I guess two is going to the high season. And third, my upfront cost was a lot less because majority of the furniture I bought from a failed operator from a different building. So that cut my cost a lot. I still spent some money, but it was, I think if I bought everything new, I would have probably spent maybe double. I definitely wouldn't have been able to take all 30. And then, yeah, that just like I did. And then it might not have been the nicest because obviously I used majority of used furniture to cut down my cost, but I think because like the location and the general amenities and the build or apartment was nice. So it just kind of, I was just very confident after that.
So you bought, okay. So you got like half off the furniture. How much concessions did you get?
I got an average of 9 weeks free on all of them. So the first 15, I believe I got 3 months. And then
Nice.
I think I was like, hey, I'm willing to take more units, something to help you guys. Because I think they used to be like student housing or something along those lines where they only accommodate the student. But then I think new ownership, new everything, they're trying to switch out to normal tenants, things like that. And they're like completely empty. It was like a ghost town apartment complex. And then I was like, hey, I wanted to do maybe 15 more years. And then I think the ownership was deciding because they weren't sure if they wanted too many corporate units. But I think in the end they like realized that they rather get some cash flow instead of waiting all the time. And I think
Yeah.
those were 6 weeks. So
No,
then
that's a great point. Like, you have I think a lot of people kind of like, why would a landlord do this? Why would they allow corporate units to be re-rented on Airbnb? I think one is you want to be very upfront, like, hey, this is what I do. So like there's no misunderstanding, everything is in a contract. And two is you're providing a business solution to them, right? They have an empty building where they have a mortgage, expenses. You're like, hey, I'll take 30 units. You're gonna give me some concessions, but like I'm gonna pay you rent, right? You're gonna be getting your rent and I'm gonna be take care of your units, right? And they probably like, well, these units are gonna be vacant for a while. How many units are in the building total? Like 100, 200, 300?
ooh, I think that building maybe has like around 350 to 400. It's like two
Yeah.
separate
So,
buildings. Yeah.
that's huge, right? So you've taken like 10% of their inventory, just one
Yeah.
shot, right? That's
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah.
That's huge. They're gonna be your best friend if you're gonna get more units and they're gonna keep coming back to you and say, hey,
Yeah.
Kevin, do you want
Hopefully that's
20
the
more?
plan.
No, congrats. So that's great. How did you like how did they find you or how did you find them?
So the funny thing is I actually outreached to them way back. And I guess, like I said, it was maybe different ownership. I don't know, they either didn't allow it or they were corporate cap, but I don't believe so because I got the 30 units like in February, right? And then I guess I reached back out again because I was like thinking like I could maybe do like maybe one small deal or something just to end the first year off. And then they came back with like, hey, we have a lot of, or they came out with like I could maybe take 15. I was like, oh. And we're like, that was like I could do it now. But then I was like wondering like what changed in the last few months. I like, went on the website. I saw that the management changed everything. I was like, okay. And I think I spoke with I think she's the new property manager. I think all the old people that used to work there got fired or something. And then I just spoke with her, had a nice conversation, tried to figure out what was going on. And then I guess we negotiated the first 15. And then I think I had one of my handyman contact check it out. And then he was like, hey, this place is actually like what I was like a ghost town. It's like very empty, like there's no one living here. You could if you could probably negotiate more. And then I went back, I was like, hey, and then I went back to try to get for more units. And also around the same time, there was like this, failed operator that will try to sell all their furniture. So I was like, okay. I kept trying, like I just kept pushing, like trying to get the extra 15. So and also I also made a
Nice.
bid on the used furniture because I was like, okay, even if I don't get the next 15, I could maybe store the rest of the furniture. And then, but in the end, I got kind of everything I wanted, and then it worked out pretty well.
Beautiful. So let's talk about that failed operator. Is it a, I don't know the name, obviously. Is it a big operator, small operator?
Yeah, it's a big operator. It was actually front desk.
Oh, front.
Uh,
Oh, okay. Front desk.
yeah, so I heard about them, and I was like looking through their inventory, and they
Yeah,
were
yeah. We all
in
did.
my
Yeah.
market in Arizona, and then yeah, then I had to bid and win by the end of January, actually. So that month of January, when I was bidding on the furniture and trying to negotiate the whole 30 unit deal, I was like, I wouldn't say rushing, but I just kind of like persistent. Hey, did you get any answer from the ownership yet? Because I really think, and then, just basically, hey, I can take on a lot of units and I know you guys are empty and things like that. And it just kind of all worked in the end.
Yeah, no, that's great. I'm curious. So, like, I mean, I looked at the front desk stuff too in Philadelphia, obviously not in Arizona. Was it a competitive process when you were bidding for it, or was it just like, hey, this is my price,
I
take it or
think
leave it?
I think all I had to do was fill out a form, like put my bid and my information, and email whoever was in charge. I believe I bid 500 per unit. Yeah, $500 per unit. I actually wanted to do like 300, but I was like kind of worried that I would lose the bid. I didn't want to be too greedy, because like I was thinking like, okay, if I sign the lease, the 30 units, right, and I don't win the bid, I'm like, then I'll be like, I don't know, I'll be scrambling. I'll be like, never mind. I can only take 15 units, or whatever it was. And I
I know for
think,
$6,000 though, it's not worth the risk, right? It's like
yeah,
200 times 30, like 6 grand. Like it's okay.
yeah,
Overpay a
yeah,
little bit for certainty.
yeah. And then, yeah, so I bid 500. And I think because I bid on the whole lot of their building, which is like close by to the 30 units. They chose me because, I was like, probably, just one person instead of like multiple people buying one unit at a time, things like that.
Do you think that was influenced by like the community that you're in, like where
Yeah, definitely.
people are like, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. Because I've seen people buy used furniture before, and usually it doesn't happen all the time. And I thought, this is a rare opportunity, and you know what, it costs like, at least for me, maybe one bedroom normally from scratch, like everything, maybe like 5 to 6 thousand. How nice, maybe. So then, $500 for everything, like that's already like a TV, a bed frame, a mattress. Everything else is basically free, right? So I was like, and then, but yeah, definitely seeing other people in the community buy used furniture. So that definitely influenced my thought that, okay, I should definitely jump on this opportunity as well. And
Yeah, see, the benefit, kind of just pulling out that point, right? Being in a community where like you see other people kind of moving, you're like, oh, okay, like it's not as scary. You see someone else do it, be successful. It's like, oh, okay, like it's a good reference point.
yeah,
It's just not something you're gonna like find on YouTube or it's like you have to kind of be around people that are like all trying to grow their business and looking at things in a certain way to give yourself that confidence, right? And I'm sure you can like ask questions too, like, hey, when you bought these 10 units, like, how did you move it? How did you store it? Like, were you able to move it to a new building right away? Like, all those questions, like, you have like a few people you can call and say, or like,
yeah,
a message and say, and then you get like a real answer back. I think that gives you a lot of confidence in making that, kind of putting a I mean, it's not a ton of money, right? But it's $15,000, not nothing. You also got to like deal with it too, right? You got to move it, store it, or that kind of stuff.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So no, that's fantastic. So were you able to move it kind of right away from the front desk units or front desk apartments to your new building, or
Yeah.
did you have to store it in the middle?
So yeah, I think they wanted everything out by the end of January. So I think, yeah, I had like a team go in there. I think they spent maybe 2 days, disassembling, moving everything, and then so 2 days to take out everything from that apartment, and then the next, I believe, 2 or 3 days to bring air to, like, unload it and set it up in my new building. And also I did
Nice.
buy a few things because I wouldn't say a lot of things I like to use, but majority of it I did try to use as much to cut down the cost. I think the whole 30 unit deal with me buying new furniture and using all the old ones as much as I can took only like 1.5 weeks, like about 10, 11 days. So that's pretty fast, I would say.
Yeah, that's great. Well, congratulations. That's fantastic. No, I'm super excited for you. Like basically got to furnish it for free, right? Because you paid, maybe like all in with labor, moving, new stuff, 1,500. I don't know, it's
Yeah.
per unit, and then you get 4 months, 10 weeks, 9, 10 weeks upfront free. Like you're kind of walking into this like with no real money in, right? So,
Yeah.
and you're going to high season, so that's a really nice set of facts. As we kind of wind down the conversation, I do want to talk about, you hit on the earlier point about needing more capital to start. And that's kind of how you and I connected when we met in Miami, because I was like curious. You're like, oh well, I use business credit to like launch my business. And for me, my background, I didn't really leverage business credit as much in the beginning, just because I had funds from when I worked, so I was able to just kind of leverage that and go. But maybe talk us a little bit about that. Like, how were you able to use, when you first started, maybe a little bit like how much money did you have, or like kind of how did you get started, and how business credit was like a big part of how you were able to accelerate your process?
Yeah. So I was there before Airbnb arbitrage. I was, doing the e-commerce, all that stuff. So I was making some money. I was not what I wanted. But also at the same time, I didn't want to use a lot of my own money majority of the time because, you know, furnishing a one bedroom apartment, like for me at least, is like our average 5 to 6K, maybe 6K now. So I was thinking like, I don't want to spend all my cash and, maybe if something ever goes wrong, like I almost gonna have. When I started, then I think like I said in the community, people were talking about, hey, something credit stacking or credit card business, and then I was like, oh, what's that? And then I just started googling, YouTubing everything. Found a lot of podcasts actually about business credit, and then a lot of online people you just applied here, this and that, which I did. I think because my personal credit was actually good, I got some decent limits, but I was like on a business credit form, I believe, and I see people getting like really high limit. I was just like, okay.
What's a really high limit? Like, what's really high limit? What
Uh,
were you getting, and what's like a really high limit?
so I think my first chase car, when I didn't know what's going on, and also I was just applying left and right because people just said just apply right. I think my first, like, it's not bad actually, but my first chase car, I think it was roughly like 25,000, which is really good actually.
That's not bad actually. Yeah, that's pretty
Yeah,
good.
and I did a few cards that maybe got me like 20K, 25K, then I started getting like 3Ks, which obviously helped me a lot. But then I've seen people on forums and stuff, like one chase card, people will get like one card, 50K or even 75K. I was like, okay, if people, like, I just imagine, like, if I have one card that's like 50K or 75K, that's a lot of units, right? And that's like all 0% for 1 year. And then I was just thinking, like, there must be like kind of like a strategy or way that people do this, right? And then I just kept researching, and yeah, then I found more information on how to strategize, how to do everything properly, and I think that definitely helped me accelerate my growth, because I was actually in the beginning when I first started. I think I started doing all that business credit stuff around May, and like I would, even though I say I do like a project, I was just think like, okay, how can I strategize or fund my next project? And then I'll just and same thing. They have a community there. People talk about their experience, maybe which bank pulls through the which bureau, and the three bureaus are Experian, TransUnion, Equifax. Depending on which state you are into, they might pull different credit bureaus. Um, so it was a lot to learn, but like the how we've been talking, like the community aspect, like people will like, this bank in this state pulls this bureau. If you're in this state, you do this one, or like if you're in this state, you should hit these banks in this order, or things like that. And that definitely helped a lot with my growth for sure, because the majority is on business credit.
So, I'm just curious, like from business credit perspective, like how much do you like ballpark, like how much business credit do you have, and how much do you like have utilized generally for the business? Just give you a sense of like what's the art of the possible here.
I think altogether, like just 0% from when I started till now, I believe maybe almost 300 to 350K of
Wow,
0%.
that's great.
And there's like tips and tricks on how to like transfer limits, how to get more limit, or how to basically, I guess in a way, yeah, there's a lot of tips and tricks about how to get more business credit with either just like your social security number, or if you say, if you have a partner example, that's like a separate person that could apply to. So technically you have a partner, you could maybe get, I would say, double the funding, or like if you have friends or family that have good credit and they are willing to, just like, hey, you can use my information and you can get business, and then that could even like double or even, I would say, triple how much business credit you can get.
It's amazing. I mean, that's crazy. That's I mean, that's a lot. That's amazing that it's like 0% too over
But
12 months that you're gonna get 6 figures of credit without collateral just by using personal credit. So look, I mean, it really opened my eyes when I talked to you about this, and I've explored it further. I've incorporated my business, and I've helped my community as well, like utilize a lot of the strategies that you introduced me to. So, appreciate that.
of course,
And it gives another kind of shout out to going to live events, going to conferences or meetups. Like you just meet like a lot of interesting people, and you get introduced to things that like you don't even know existed, or may have heard of but haven't had time to explore. And then you meet someone like Kevin. I met you, and immediately I was like, okay, this guy's real. Like he's a real business. He carries himself in the right way. And then we talked, right? And we're like, and then I was like, hey, tell me about your business. I'll tell you about mine. And I was like, wow. And then when you talked about business credit, I was like, okay, like this is someone that I know like really is smart and like is doing things like at a high level. And I think for me, that's what gave me confidence. Like, okay, this is something that actually is like really workable within the business. It's not just some kind of like pie in the sky or like very short term thing. It's like a real strategy. And that was a huge, so I think that was a huge benefit for me. It was one of the biggest things I took away from that conference. So I was encourage people, like, if you can try to go to conferences close by or meetups, you'll meet people, you'll learn new things, expand your network, expand your universe of knowledge, and it will really, really help expand your business.
yeah.
So before we end up, 81 units, like, what are you projecting for revenue? Like, what do you think you're gonna do in 12 months?
The next 12 months,
What is 81 units gonna make you?
well, actually, my team of VAs actually did my March financials. I believe March was around 425 in revenue. And since I had a lot of, like rank concession, obviously that played a factor, and also high season. I think after all expenses, I believe it was around 215 in that operating cash flow. Yeah.
Amazing, amazing, and that pays off those credit cards very, very quickly. So for 400 revenue in 1 month and over 200 in profit in 1 month,
Yeah.
what do you like, what do you think, as you so are you're looking at, we multiply it by 12, right? Obviously that your rents will kick in. You're kinda like 5 million in revenue right now. Like, what do you think what do you project your profit margins to be, just percentage-wise?
I believe, because I did a lot of expansion the last few months, so it's kind of hard to say, but I would say, yeah, maybe on the lower end, conservative, maybe 25-30%. I would assume. Um, yeah, that's what I would assume or guess.
Nice. Are you and I forgot to ask you, like, are you doing this full time now, or are you still doing some
Yeah,
other
yeah,
stuff?
full time. I believe last year, like, cause last year I started, and then I think a few months in, I just was like, okay, it really works, and then I just kind of went all in after. I just, like I said, I had the confidence. I just needed to try it for a few months, and I was very confident. And then also, yeah, the community, coach, things like that definitely help. Not like go through like those mistakes that if someone were to start alone, that yeah, they would probably meet. Yeah.
It's amazing, man. Well, congratulations. I congratulations on your success so far. I look forward to have you back on the show in a year, and you'll tell me you have like 800 units. So it's amazing to see someone grow this quickly and doing it in a very intelligent way. You know, trying to average down your costs as much as possible with buying furniture from other operators, like really driving rent concessions, like taking advantage of opportunities. So really congrats to you, and look forward to you growing your business. Thanks for spending time with me today and sharing your journey with the community here.
Of course, thank you. And yeah, thank you for having me as well. I was actually, surprised that you wanted me on the podcast. I was like, oh, I'm just, I don't know, a random guy, or I'm still new, but I thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to. And the Giants are my favorite team, so bonding over the San Francisco Giants. It's always good to talk to a fellow Giants fan. So it's always nice to meet like an entrepreneur that's like just like I sensed it when I first met you. It was just like, I mean, this guy's like all about it. Like he really knows his stuff and like he's serious about it. Because you meet some people like you can tell pretty quickly now, right? People
Mhm.
that are like how serious are they? Like, and I don't mean just like serious as in like business people, but just like a serious person. And I think that that's actually like a big part of like success in entrepreneurship, especially. It's like, how do you like present yourself? How do you like carry yourself? And I think that's like, it speaks a lot to a person and you can tell very, very quickly. And it actually like is a big deal. Like when you're talking to landlords or any other business partner, just like how you talk, how you,
Yeah,
present yourself. Cause first 10 seconds, you're going to like, am I going to do business with this person or not? Like pretty fast.
yeah.
So yeah, not just like, young or younger age, since I'm older. uh, I'm really glad that we met, and no, appreciate you kind of opening my eyes to like the potential of business credit. That was a very
Mhm.
eye opening thing for me as well.
Of course.